Thank you so much for having me. So it was fascinating, first of all, to work with the Polygon ID team. They were so supportive. They were always very prompt in terms of helping resolve these queries, okay? And I think there is a lot to come also. So I'm giving you a sneak peek of what we have been able to achieve in terms of providing ownership of data to patients using the Polygon ID setup. We will also extend it to further complex use cases going ahead. So, yeah. So that's what we call it with so let's say bringing healthcare to Web3 is the theme here. And we're talking about data marketplaces when it comes to incurable disorders like cancer, okay? And the case where healthcare is no longer affordable, especially for incurable disorders like cancer, people don't have information. And to let that happen, we are creating a marketplace where patients can be incentivized for their data. First is giving them ownership and then also the capability so that they can license their data to research. And hence, for diseases like cancer. In my case, what people usually look for is information across the internet. When they don't find it, then they start calling, they get multiple opinions from experts or their friends and eventually end up wasting a lot of time, okay? What they're always looking for are three things: treatments, trials, and experts, okay? And this happened to me because when my uncle passed away, this was the exact situation we were into. We were like running around headless chicken. We were, looking at internet, but there was a lot of propaganda, malinformation, misinformation, and we ended up wasting time, okay? This is what we do. We provide information for free, but also give them a chance that they could actually, with their data, participate in the research, even, apply for a clinical trial, provide their data for virtual trials or decentralized trials these days as the word goes. And through that, both the research and the patients benefit together. The drugs for incurable disorders will come to the market faster because the data flows in there, and the patients also get incentivized. So affordable healthcare, is the game here, or healthcare inclusion also. Okay. The lack of information is one. The knowledge about the specialists and experts is other. But more importantly, costs come in, and that's where we are targeting this next stage. But there comes a question. When it comes to healthcare data, this is a very sensitive data. I mean, if you lose your credit card, maybe it's not so much of a heartburn, but when you lose your medical data, or imagine genome sequences or genetic data, then this can have a severe repercussions. Not just for you, your career, your financial, opportunities for future, or credit worthiness, etc. A lot of things personal, but also for your kids. Maybe the ones who are not yet born, probably a lineage of all the babies who are yet to born, they could suffer from this problem because, one of the ancestors was diagnosed with an incurable disorder, which could also spread, across generations. So, when licensing data, the four most important question is, who is asking this data? Does this person or organization have valid credentials? Can they even have, do they have the setup to store this data? Can they actually, do they have these checks and balances? Are they compliant? Okay, etc., etc. Then comes the purpose. Why exactly? That precise purpose of a research project or a trial, or the reason why they need the data. Okay. When you call data, this thing is very broad. What do you mean by data, right? What exactly of the data, what quantum of the data exactly does this researcher or this organization or a person actually require? Maybe a data scientist is asking. Okay? And then, for how long? Like in GDPR, it's important to ensure that the data doesn't stay forever. The patients or the provider of this data, the creators of this data, have the right to be forgotten, a right to get deleted out of the systems. And today, even if someone says that, yes, we comply with GDPR, it's actually super difficult to ensure this part, the time and purpose. Because the data being used today could be misused at a later date in time. Okay? So that's why purpose and time are very critical when you ask. Hence, let's not go for trust. Let's go for something which is verifiable credentials, things that don't need a trust factor there. So can we establish a zero knowledge proof based setup to answer all the 4 questions? We did that first simple 3-step way. We first make an awesome app, build a community around it, and then we want to decentralize this thing. What do you mean by decentralized, if someone asks? The thing is, drug discovery, the healthcare, it's actually very centralized. It's not so transparent. There are data silos, and no one knows what happens to your data. And then on top of this, we keep hearing the news of, well, someone hacked a hospital database and all of this data is now available on darknet, 1,000 euros for a zip file. You know, this is obnoxious. This is crazy. And this kind of data out there has all the personal identifiable information. So the resolution that it might have your email, phone number, address, or maybe SSN or some kind of a national identity number. Okay, and that's crazy. And people can triangulate this and connect the dots with your financial information, which is also kind of like out there. So people didn't take checks and balances earlier, so the financial data is out there. A lot of apps actually can scan through your SMS or your, messages that you get from your bank, your salary getting credited, every transaction in fact. Okay, now that is not so cool, by the way. No matter how much they say that the data is protected, it's 100% privacy proof, etc. There is no way to establish this fact, correct? And hence we need a setup based on verifiable credentials, who is having this. Second is a zero knowledge proof way to establish this that no, it is not being used for wrong purposes. That is what we mean by decentralization. In a way, the creator of the data, we, patients, everyone, should be able to drive the drug discovery. Now that is the way, rather than one top pharma or a top research institute actually guiding the future. It's the patients contributing the data, approving research projects, and then getting it done. This is where we stand currently. This is just one of the apps. This is one of the apps. It covers more than 50 plus cancer types. A lot of patient profiles, millions of installs across 29, 30 countries now. And the idea is, with more data and more diversity, it attracts more stakeholders. Stakeholders bring services. Services in turn attract users. So it's a sustainable way of doing things. And on top of it, establish a proof-based setup. It takes it to the next level. I think we covered this part. And how do you set up this thing? Okay, so just to give you an idea about, these are the main stakeholders. There are researchers who are seeking this data. There are aggregators or enablers where the data actually resides. It could be a hospital, lab, a university, a blood bank, 1,000 places where your data resides. Okay, and then the patients. So patients can get identity. Their decentralized ID could be their handle. They get an ownership of data verified by this hospital. Who can verify that this blood report actually belongs to, say, Alex? Alex, just for representation, not really Alex. The hospital where Alex took that blood report. They can establish this, that, okay, Alex is actually the owner. And then, after you have removed all of the personal identifiable information, it takes a pipeline of hundreds of AI algorithms sitting there. Then I think it's a safe way that the patients can actually license that piece of data. They don't even have to store it, because it can be asynchronously relayed from the hospital labs itself, like a decentralized web. And there, so each of the stakeholders have an identity, their credentials, and then the whole system flows like a marketplace. On the other hand, there could also be apps who want this data, okay, to provide services to the patients. Okay, enough talk, let's get to the video. In the first part, we just want to explain how I think it's self-explanatory. Actually, a patient is getting the verifiable credentials. He's establishing the ownership of the data here. They can scan it to the network of hospitals we have, and that verifies their identity, and then they get a claim and ownership of their data in that hospital or a lab. Okay? So that's the verification part where they get it. Here I've just mentioned an age credential. It could be a blood group, it could be a value of your WBC count, RBC count. Take it to another level, it could be the X-ray scan itself as a multimodal aspect of it, or your gene sequence. Research project is where people can post a project with purpose, with the exact information of what kind of people are applicable to this research, what kind of a data is required. And then patient can of course share this. I don't have to get into detail of this. I think you all know that if someone asks whether you are about 21, you don't even have to give your birth date to them, right? I mean, you can just have to verify that yes, I am about 21, more than 21 years old. And such things can also happen when in terms of proofs can be shared, whether a patient is applicable for a project, okay? And does the patient actually have that exact piece of data which is required by the requester, a researcher, or whoever, even a data scientist. Now, this is a typical stack where you first set up ecosystem set up at the hospital or the lab, the web node. You help them to remove or anonymize the data. With multimodal data, you need multiple different kinds of algorithms at each and every place. Again, they come with different formats. Everyone has their way of doing things. So we also kind of bring interoperability in there. Okay. Now all of this is done with like solid foundation. It's a very big draft with trillions of connections and billions of nodes. And then granted patents over AI algorithms actually ensure also that there is protection around this one. Then comes a layer of decentralized ID and how the governance works in terms of which projects get the access to this data. So patients actually stake their data. And incentives also can flow back using a utility token or some sort. Okay? And that's why patients decide which projects to actually carry forward. Only serious, reputable, or organizations or projects with credentials, verifiable credentials, are given this chance. And then, of course, there are applications which can be built on top of this. Apart from just research projects, a lot of applications can be built on top of it. Already a few players in Europe, India, and South America, also USA, build applications on this kind of a data. And they are all part of the network. And of course, monetization or how federated systems can work can be now implemented. Okay, so this is the story of how a marketplace kind of a situation we achieve. This is the team. There are all kinds of team members in the board. There's a chairman, that's the biggest lawyer in Switzerland. I don't know how many of you know Dr. Tom Ladner. Ole Wittinger is the biggest name when it comes to oncology expertise. That's our team. That's me, that's Lakshmi, and Adi. You need medical experts to actually validate, right? Whether someone is credible, whether the data requested is within the bounds of compliance, etc., right? So there is a team of medical experts and advisors who guide a team of PhDs and doctors to actually go through this. And we already partner with many of such organizations. There are research institutes, drug discovery companies, pharmas, CRO, even publication houses. And of course, these are the app ecosystem that we also work with governments in this case. So soon, I think France is getting UPI, right? In a few months, I think France will get what is called as UPI, which is a rockstar product in India. QR code-based transfers of payment, etc. can happen. Okay. Similarly, there is a initiative towards UHI, a decentralized ID used for a person to take healthcare benefits. It's like an identity UHI. Okay? So we are working on that, and we also contributed to UPI. And I think, well, we are famous, let's not get there. So this is more or less the idea of what we are building on, and thanks to Polygon, and also there is another partner who is helping us to come up with what is called as selective disclosures. This is the next stage of what we want to work on, since we know that the precise quantum of data that we require is not the whole data, right? So we need a mechanism of selective disclosures, combining data points from different credentials together, since they are interoperable, and take it forward. So, questions? Did I do? I think I did it on time. Any questions? Anything?
Yeah. So one question.
Yes, Alex.
So I understand correctly that the credentials, so the whole medical test, the echography or whatever, is in the credential of the mobile of the patient?
Yeah.
And then do you have real implementations of the whole history of a patient's being used?
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit of real implementations?
Yeah, so 1.6 million patient profiles is the number we are currently having, and we say patient profile.
Mm-hmm.
So this is longitudinal data, also temporal, like time based on how things have happened. And since the network actually involves so many hospitals and labs, we help in triangulating that as well.
How long do we have the history so far?
It depends. And so the largest would be a few years. Smallest could be a few months, but depends. Like some people only share a medical condition which is most interested with them, okay? So maybe they are having a diabetes, but maybe they want to, for now, share only cancer-related stuff, okay? So that is there. It's in their hands, correct? It's in their hands, okay? So what they want to license is completely in there.
Thank you very much, Ashwin. I think we can move here. No worries. Thank you for being here.